Alright folks, welcome to another beer review. Gotta try and keep this brief because I've got burgers to make. And what perfect beer to accompany the creation of succulent, juicy, pre-made burgers than a nice West Coast double IPA, this time care of Baron. This is Sea Legs, 8.2% ABV West Coast. Arguably the best style of IPA. There's a very good case for that. West Coast double IPAs are something to behold, very true. We've stripped this back to a more modern take on the West Coast double IPA with a much lighter colour from just one malt, Heidelberg, hopped in every conceivable way, mash hopped, bittered heavily up to 120 IBUs, an enormous Whirlpool edition, dry hopped with Simcoe and dry hopped after fermentation, brewed in the tiny tank 5, only 400 litres per batch, and nice little description, and it also gives you a full breakdown of the ingredients. So as they said, grains are Heidelberg malts, hops are Centennial, Atsaka, Columbus, Citra, Simcoe, Columbus, Centennial. No, you can't have any. Yeast is WHC high voltage. Water is CA 115, MG 7.6, CHI 98, SUI 176, K1. And I know exactly what all of those mean when it comes to the water, of course. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Baron. Don't drink them enough. And I do very much like a West Coast IPA when it's done correctly. I think a lot of the times when some breweries are trying to do a West Coast IPA, it just becomes a bit of like a run-of-the-mill generic adequately brewed IPA. So we'll see how this attempt, which is taken on a contemporary twist, will go down. Head pretty much dissipated straight away. They're saying it's a bit of a lighter colour, maybe. I don't think it's drastically lighter than you would expect from a West Coast. It's still got that golden, amber, orangey hue to it. A little bit of, it's not completely clear, but looks very nice, and you can't lick beer off my fingers, but go ahead. We've been giving dogs beers for years. Anyway, I don't actually actively give my dog beer, by the way, before someone jumps down my throat. Although she is partial to licking a can if it's left unattended. I'd rather do that than lace it with Rohypnol, so it is what it is. But yeah, it's certainly looking the part. Let's see what we get on the nose. Ooh. It's a very bright smelling IPA, if you could put brightness into a flavour when it comes to beer, that's what it would be. You're definitely getting a crisp malt character coming through. It doesn't necessarily have like that resiny skunk, it's not skunky, although skunk in a different sense, although that's what people say. So shut up, Peter, you know what I meant. Let's take a step back. It's got like a little bit of a sherbety lemon character, maybe. You can definitely tell that there's some Simcoe in there, giving it that like sweaty twanginess. Very good band live, by the way. Even though I don't listen to them, but went to watch the Twang with my brother and my dad, and they put on a damn good show. Can't lie, It's nothing like remarkable or insane. I nearly rubbed my eye through my glasses then. But what is there is nice. And I do tend to find with a West Coast double IPA, you're going to get a little bit more of a booziness compared to a hazy East Coast double IPA. Just because those flavours can mask alcohol a lot more. But yeah, smells pretty damn decent. Nothing to write home about, but I've smelt worse. Haven't we, Betty? Cheers, everyone. Wow. Well, it certainly more than makes up for it on the taste. My God, it's like a punch in the mouth. My God, that's going to put hairs on your chest. And in the words of the Stranglers, make your curl straighten out. Jesus. Oh yeah, there's a real potency to that. Definitely. And just like I had predicted, Nostradamus, you feel the ABV in this one, especially as it's going down. Nowhere to hide. I mean, it's not like massively abrasive to the point where it's not nice. It's very nice, but you probably want to go and take your time with this one. The malt, I really like the malt character in this. It's getting to West Coast, or my interpretation, and what I remember from drinking West Coast IPAs. God, over 10 years ago now, which is mental to think that I've been actively sort of involved in this for that long. Jesus Christ, that's mental. It's absolutely mental. And there's people who I know have obviously been doing this, you know, since like the 80s and 90s, and it's just a big part of their life. But I just think it's absolutely mental that I've probably experienced like the big craft boom, haven't I, really? That makes me feel old. There wasn't much pininess or resininess coming through on the aroma. Definitely comes through on the flavour. It's almost got like an oily mouthfeel. Not necessarily a thick, full-bodied IPA, but definitely oily. Velvety, almost. And I do get a little bit of like a salinic character as well. Big bursts of peach on the back end, out of nowhere. Sharpness of citrus. That funky, cheesy dankiness coming from the Simcoe. Those are the sort of like main flavours. But yeah, it's nice to have a West Coast IPA that has some abrasiveness to it. Although I personally don't feel that it like fits into my expectations of a West Coast IPA. I certainly think it's bang full of character, very, very intriguing. And dare I say it might be a bit too harsh for some people. I mean, I don't know if they'd have gone for like a classic, like West Coast, without a contemporary twist. Don't necessarily think it would affect flavour too much. I definitely think they've selected the right malt for this. Definitely that velvety smoothness, but then there's still crispness there. Yeah, that's absolutely cracking West Coast double IPA. And I don't know if it's picking up on camera, but my stomach is making some very odd noises. Nothing a good old greasy burger won't sort out. But yeah, that's big, bold, full of flavour. Definitely has unique qualities to it, but you still get West Coast, and that's fundamental, obviously, if you're brewing a West Coast IPA. But like I said at the start of the video, a lot of the times something that's been labelled or perceived or conceived as a West Coast double IPA can just sometimes taste like a generic IPA, and this is far from it, although just missing a few things for it to be like a quintessential West Coast for myself. But then again, I personally feel you're probably going to have to get, you know, the West Coast IPAs from the OGs of the American craft brewing scene, who can still brew those beers fantastically well, like your Sierra Nevadas, your Stones, especially some of their higher ABV IPAs, still fantastic, regardless of who owns them, blah, 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 blah. I wish I could try Ballast Point again. I'd love to try some of the different IPAs from Lagunitas. Again, these are all breweries who have been sort of like shunned because of like the deals and how the businesses have been run, and the who owns who and where the money's coming from and that sort of thing. But I genuinely think, and Sierra Nevada, I mean, come on, Torpedo, haven't had that for a while, need to pick up some Torpedo, but phenomenal. Celebration IPA, one of my top 5 favourite beers. It's always a joy every year to drink that. And I think if you want those flavours, you're probably going to have to go to the OG big craft breweries in the US. But this is a damn fine attempt at a West Coast double IPA. And they, you know, they say it on the can, with a bit of a modern twist. Simple, straightforward, brilliantly brewed. The combination of the hops, the malt bill is just 10 out of 10 for me on this one. I wouldn't have gone the direction I would have with the water quality, but that's a different story, but it is what it is. Yeah, lovely stuff. The more you drink it, the sort of like smoother and climatized your palate comes to it, so it's a little bit more gentle, but those IBUs on the back end, it's that weird like peach like flavour that just turns into that satisfying heavy bitter kick. Wonderful, nailed it in that regard. Just fantastic beer, highly recommended, especially if you like your West Coast IPAs. So that was Sea Legs from Baron, 8.2% double West Coast IPA. Artwork courtesy of Max Wild. I think he does all the artwork for Baron. I like their brand identity. I like the simple white label, simple hand-drawn illustration, a little bit of fun. And yeah, out of Hertfordshire. So lovely stuff. And I would definitely drink this again. So if you tried it, let me know your thoughts, opinions down below. Go check out Baron down below, and if I remember to do so, I'll also put a link down below to Max Wild, so you can check out his other creative exploits. Thank you for watching. I'm taking too long in this video already. Probably going to get bollocked. Bye.